you should be on the Math Canvas page. Someone tell me from your home page, where do you go to see what we're, bless you, doing today? Where do we go from here to see what we're doing for today? Anybody know? Jack?
You see what we're doing?
Where we're going. Like, where can I go to see like what we're doing today? Other than on this homepage.
The class link?
No. Alright, so you should be on Canvas, ladies and gentlemen. This is why it's really important for you not to come in and talk. So get to Canvas, get to this screen, and stand up for me so that I know. And yet we're still talking. You have to hit it. I agree. There you go. Okay, go now. Alright, is anybody not able to get to this page? What? Okay, come on. What? Okay, that's why it's right there. Pay attention. Are you putting in the right password? Let me see. Are you putting in the right password, babe?
Just having trouble getting to the other page yet.
So, you have to turn it over. Just because none of that's capitalized. No. If it's capitalized down here, it's gotta be capitalized up there.
And it's the very bottom.
Right, so, okay, so stop. Put your iPad up here where you can actually see the function of your iPad. Type in lowercase f. Mother, let's make it illustration. So you actually have to use that. Lowercase f. Oh, like that way. Alright. Now, 5. Capital for the rest of these. D, E. A, B. And A.
Pardon the interruption. National Junior Honor Society members, please get your lunch today and meet in the media center with Ms. Brody. National Junior Honor Society members, please meet with Ms. Brody in the media center for lunch. Please get your lunch first. Thank you.
Alright, so from this home screen, where do we go? There's 3 buttons you can pick. Where do we go to see what we're doing specifically for that day? Cooper?
The links on Wednesday?
No. So what happens if I take down the playlist? How do we find out what we're doing? You can. Who said it?
I did.
Yes, go to modules. Everyone click on modules. And this is why modules is so much more important than this playlist. On yours right now, all you can see is Wednesdays. So I'm going to go into student mode so it looks the same. All right, so right now, you should see Monday, no school. You should see Tuesday, and then you should see math notebook page, instructional video, and then Wednesday. The reason modules is so important for you guys to go and use and get used to is so yesterday we had this lesson. We went in, we did this. This is the page from the notebook that we did yesterday. This also has the cool down. So we're not going to talk about the cool down today because it was not good yesterday. It was not good. I don't know what I can give you advice with Open Up is the cool downs a lot of times are very similar to the lessons themselves. So a lot of us missed A, which meant that we missed C. So if you have 5 technically right choices and you miss 2, that's a 60. So there will be 60s and 40s going into the grade book this afternoon. Yes. But on here, you have the answer keys to what we did. Then, let's say that you're not here for whatever reason, and again, you want to go in and you at least want to keep up with the lesson. Here is the lesson from yesterday as well. This is why modules is so much more important than that front page. Because that front page, if I go back to home, great, grand, wonderful, I can click on the links, but that doesn't tell me what to do with them, does it? That doesn't help me follow through and figure them all out, does it?
No.
That is why, yes, this is fantastic. Woohoo! But modules are way more important than that front page. Okay, so get used to going into modules every single day. All right, questions? All right, close your iPads. As I've said before, we do not use iPads a whole lot in here. All right, bless you. Go ahead and title the next blank page. And this has been a huge, hard concept for students today. But ladies and gentlemen, this is a new concept. Where should you be? On the left-hand side. So if, let's say, yesterday, this page was blank, when I opened my notebook today, I did not know where this was doing this. Come on, man. All right, so let's say this right side was blank today. So you open up your notebook, I'm like, turn to the left, next blank left page. And your thought process is, but Miss Penny, there's a beautifully blank, pretty right page right here. Oh my goodness, just focus. And I'm going to say, I don't care. Put an X on this page and turn it to the next blank left side. Okay? Next blank left side. I don't know why. All right, please copy this down. So Unit 4, Lesson 6, using diagrams to find the number of groups. sing or whatever. Like, dear Lord have mercy. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and get right into this lesson today. Does anybody remember what hold on, I'll get it together, I promise. What we called these little charts and blocks and what we call this. Does anybody remember what we call this? From yesterday? Raise your hand. Do you remember? Christian? Close. You are right. It is a diagram. Anthony, is your hand raised? No? Yeah? Close. So we're going to add yours together. Tape diagram. Okay, so today the focus is 1000% on tape diagrams and division. So long division. So it says, let's draw tape diagrams to think about division with fractions. All right, so talking about division, talking about long division, talking about fractions, all in one lesson today. Okay, so number 1, or 6.1, it says how many of these is that? So the question for number 1 says, we can think of the division expression 10 divided by 2.5 as the answer to the question, how many groups of 2.5 are in 10? Complete the tape diagram to represent the question, and then answer the question. So we are going to do this one together so that you guys have an understanding and you know exactly like how to use a tape diagram. So, what are we breaking these blocks into? Raise your hand. What are we breaking the blocks into? Mason. 2. Nope. What does it tell us? What does it tell us in our question?
How many groups of 2.5 are in 10?
Right, so what are we going to do? We're looking for what? 2.5. So 2.5, guys, not 2. So you're going to do 1, 2, divide that. So this is 2.5. So then you're going to go 1, 2, half. So that's 2.5. 1, 2, half. That's 2.5, and then 1, 2, half. So how many 2.5s are in 10? Christian? 4. That's your answer. Alright, pretty easy. Should not be like a very hard concept. Alright, it does get a little bit harder though when the numbers aren't as nice. Like 10 and 2.5 are pretty nice numbers. Not super hard. Okay? So you guys are going to do number 2. It says complete the tape diagram to represent the question. How many groups of 2 are in 7? And that answer. Once you have this done, stand up for me. The fact that you have it done means you haven't been listening. It means that you were doing that while we were discussing. Again, stand up when you have the answer. All right, again, stand up when you have your answer for this. Okay, so what you need to be careful with is the information that this gives you though. So you have a total of 7. Your tape diagram has 7 boxes on it, correct?
Yeah.
What are you dividing 7 by?
2.
So what do you have to break your boxes up into? Into 2s. So when you do this, you have 1, you have another one, you have another one. So you have 3 full boxes of 2s and 7, right? And then you have 1 box left over. So that box is not a representation of 1, it's a representation of what? Raise your hand and tell me. So we have 3 holes, and then Gabriel.
A remainder, fraction of a half of 2.
Because 1 is half of 2. Okay? Alright, so that should be how you have it broken down. I saw a couple of you guys did that, and I saw a couple of you guys that look like we break it down into like individual boxes. If it tells you 2, you've got to do it by 2. Okay, if it tells you 3, you got to do it by 3. If it tells you 2.5, you got to do it by 2.5. Does that make sense to everybody? Alright, let's go ahead and slide on then. So, second part of this lesson, it says representing groups of fractions with tape diagrams. So to make sense of the question, how many 2/3 are in 1? Andrew wrote equations and drew a tape diagram. So this is the set of equations he wrote. And this is his tape, this is his tape diagram. Question number 1 says, in an earlier task, we used pattern blocks to help us solve the equation 1 divided by 2/3. Explain how Andre's tape diagram can also help us solve the equation. So, no, we didn't do the pattern block lesson because we're like flying through this unit, but how does him using this tape diagram help you solve the problem? That's what that's asking. So looking at the tape diagram, and it says, explain how Andre's tape diagram can also help us solve the equation. So write how that tape diagram helps you solve the problem. All right, I'm gonna give you 1 minute because this should not take very long. have your answer, stand up for me. Go ahead, keep working. Words. It says explain. If you don't have words on your paper, that means you did not explain. I need way more words than that. That doesn't make any sense to me. That is wrong. How? Because I don't understand the problem is better with your explanation. That's not true. Close. Okay, but how does that help? How does that help? Not 1/3. There's a question saying 1 divided by 2/3. Alright, let's go ahead and go over this. Because I feel like we're almost there. We're almost on the right track. So, first and foremost, if I told you just do 1 divided by 2/3, everybody would be able to come up with the answer, correct?
Yeah.
What is the answer? Raise your hand first and foremost. What is the answer of 1 divided by 2/3? Caleb.
2 and 1/3. Wait.
So here's my question. Why was that not the very first thing you did? Why didn't y'all solve this problem first? Did I tell you you couldn't? You're like one of the only few. Alright, so thinking about that, knowing what you're actually looking for. Now, this is obviously not numbers. I mean, it's numbers, but it's a visual. So it's essentially a visual for you guys to say, okay, this is how it is broken down. So, Joseph, sit up. If I am looking at my tape diagram, how many 1/3 make up one whole? How many 1/3 make up one whole? How many 1/3 make up one whole? Anthony? 3, right? So technically the value of this box is 1/3. But that's not what the question's asking me. The question's asking me 1 divided by 2/3. So I have 1 2/3 right there. What do I have left over? So is it 1 1/3 as my answer?
No.
No. Why is it not 1 1/3?
I think that is
Did you figure it out?
yeah.
Why?
It's because 1/3 is 1/2 of 2/3, so that means it'd be a half and not a third.
Yes. So this little piece right here equals half. So your answer is 1 1/2. Okay? So to me, the tape diagram does not help us. I feel like it almost confuses us a little bit.
A little bit.
Because if you're not thinking outside the box a little bit and saying, well, it's 1 1/3 because there's 1/3 left over, you have to be careful what the question is asking. All right, so the explanation here is really your opinion. Because it's more of like, how did it help you? So how did that one help you? Jack, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, I was getting confused by the line graph. So,
Tape diagram.
Tape diagram. So, I just did the division problem first, because I knew that one. And then I see that one multiplied 2/3 and equal 1.
Okay, but knowing the answer of 1 1/2, that should have made the tape diagram very easy for you. Because it's 1 1/2 of that 1/3, or sorry, 2/3. So again, answer the question. How does the tape diagram, how did it help you guys? So what were some things? My point is, nobody has a wrong answer right now for this question. Because it's all in how it helped you. And your explanation could also be that maybe it didn't help me. Maybe it confused me. That's okay because it's a strategy that if we don't understand, it could confuse us, right? All right, so who would like to share what they said? Bueller? I don't want to hear from Michaela. I don't want to hear from Christian. I heard from you too much today. I don't want to hear from Caleb. What's something y'all wrote? There is no wrong answer, ladies and gentlemen. Just share your thoughts. Share your thinking. Caroline.
I wrote that anything times 1 would be the same.
Okay, but how does his tape diagram tell you that? So like using the tape diagram, how does that tell you that anything times 1 is itself?
Because it looks like that the 1 is trying to say that you should multiply the 1 times the 2/3.
I don't follow what you're saying. So I'm trying to figure out how I can, let me come back to you because I don't want to put something on our paper that also confuses us. And I have to be able to understand it before I will put it here, if that makes sense. Okay? Rena.
I thought 1 group of 2/3 would be that 1/3 left, which is half of 2/3.
Say it again, I just didn't hear you.
1 group of 2/3 would leave about 1/3, which is half of 2/3.
So 1 group of 2/3, which leaves 1/3, which is half of 2/3. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and move on. So number 2, it says, write a multiplication equation and a division equation for each of the following questions. Draw a tape diagram to find the solution. Use the grid to help you draw it's needed, sorry. So, it says how many 3/4 are in 1? We're gonna do this one together so that you guys know exactly what the expectation is. Alright, so first and foremost, what is the number that we're dividing? What's the number we are dividing here? Tell me your name again. Olivia. What's the number that, like, what's our whole,
3/4.
no,
Oh, yeah, 1.
1 is our answer. 1 is our quotient if we're going to divide this. So you need to identify that 1 is the answer / whole, whatever you want to call it. Okay? And then the 3/4 is what we are dividing. Alright? So how many units is this one going to be made of? How many units is the one going to be made of? And how do you know? What are we breaking it into? Look at your fraction. What are we breaking it into, guys? Jeremiah?
You're breaking it into fourths.
Fourths. So then how many blocks are going to be my one whole? If I'm breaking it into fourths, how many blocks is my one whole?
4.
4. Alright, so you're just going to have 4. And it's going to be teeny tiny, and I really apologize. Again, if it was on a normal whole sheet, it would be a little bit bigger, but we'll figure it out. Alright, so draw your little, this is your one whole, and it's made up of 4. What, our question again is how many 3/4 are in 1? So this is where, if I'm a very visual person, so to me, if I, shade it in with a different color, that would help me. You can do that if you want. If you do not want to, you do not have to. Again, I'm visual. All right? So how many are we breaking this into? Mason.
1/4.
So these are all 1/4, right? So 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. Okay? So we know what the value of each one of these are. Now, how many 1/4 are we looking for, Mason?
4.
No. I just highlighted that little baby number. It tells us. Brock? 3. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. So I have 1 3/4 with how much left over? 1/4. Because they're broken up into what, guys? We just wrote it.
1/4.
They're broken up into fourths, right? So I have 1 3/4 and 1/4 left over. Yes, ma'am.
I was going to say what that is.
Okay, so then what is our final answer, Michaela?
1 and 1/3.
No. What is it broken into, guys?
4. 1/3 of the
3/4.
What do you mean?
Like, so on the one that we just did, we had it was split into 3s, and it was 1/3 for each piece. And that last third, we called it half of the 2/3.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Do you agree with her reasoning?
Yes.
I think that makes sense.
That's what I was.
I'm not completely convinced. Cooper, add to what she said. So convince me, because I'm the teacher. I know everything. I know everything. She's got me thinking. She's got me thinking.
So if there was 1/4 left, and we have 3/4 total, and let's just
Listen, this is important because this is what you guys are going to do and make the mistake. So listen to your 2 classmates. I'm sorry, Cooper, go ahead.
and like she said on the last one, we called it like 1/3 is 2/3, or is 1/2 2/3. So we have 3/4 and 1/4 left, which is 1/3 of 3/4.
So what I hear both of you telling me is that even though we're looking at one whole and they're broken up into 1/4, we're dividing by 3,
Yeah.
technically. So, and this is my thinking. So you're convincing me, and I'm explaining my thoughts. So technically, there's 3 in my 1, not 4. Do you see what I'm saying? So there's 3/4 in my 1. Because if there's 4/4 in my 1, then it's 1 and 1/4. So I'm actually breaking it up into 3s. So let's gamble here a little bit. I'm gonna use another sheet. We're not doing the math right now. Shh, don't say that. All right, so both of you guys are saying this is 1, right?
Yeah.
So what if I added, this is 1, so what if I added another group? And this is 1. And I use a different color. If I can find one. Hold on. So I can understand y'all's thinking. So now you're saying instead of breaking it into 4s, I'm breaking it into 3s. Do you guys see that?
Yes. Yeah.
That is why it is not 1 and 1/4. That is why it is 1 and 1/3. Because your 1, so this is 1, this is 1. So then this is 1, 2, how many 1/3 or 1/4 are left? 2. So it's 1, 2, and not 2 1/2, 2/3, because we're made up by 3, not by 4. And that's the concept that you have to understand, because how many of us were like convinced that I was right and it was 1 and 1/4? Y'all can say what you want, but y'all were rolling with me. You were like, yeah, Miss Kenny knows what she's doing.
You are a mathematician.
That don't mean nothing. All right, so our final answer is 1 and 1/3 for this one. All right, listen. You are working. You have 2 more of these type questions. So flip your paper over. Shh. And I highly recommend, ladies and gentlemen, that you use some colors. Because on this one, it was a whole lot easier to see than just adding the numbers. So keep this in mind. So that's 1, that's 2, and that's 2/3. So this equals 2 and 2/3. I would recommend using color. You do not have to, but I would recommend it. All right. What time is it? 1:16. I'm going to give you 10 minutes. You can work with the people at your table. Excuse me, go ahead. And be careful with this one. Because 3 is a whole number, 2/3 is a fraction. Right? So this is actually 1. And then you have 3 more. Does that make sense? But you broke it into.
Hold on, let me draw my pen.
Okay, so do me a favor, darken this line.
I have the answers.
Just so I can see that you have it.
That is for, okay, so how we put down, so we split each one into three. Then, now we can make it technically one.
So that means each of these means
Equals.
Make sure y'all are working together.
Okay.
Because you should have the same as him, should have the same charge, should have the same charge, should have the same charge. Right, when I see down there, yeah, add more. Work together, because these guys down here have a lot more than you guys do down there. So, work together. Right. It's actually really easy. Okay, so how many? Because it's broken up into how many one So we did 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3. What are you dividing? And what we're not. Another. And then you go That's what you got because you wrote down, or that's what you got because you lied? I mean, technically this is But you're supposed to be drawing to take that and then essentially writing that in. You can't just add it. Like, you gotta use the rest. So I just recommend it to use Cora before it comes to the field. Can you do that? You think so? I think you can. Guys, do not forget that you have to write a multiplication problem and a division problem.
On this problem, how many 4 times 1? 1 was the whole number, and so you would have one whole with 3 quarters. And I mean, like 4. But then you actually
Because you still have
Oh, my Google's good.
Okay.
It would just be the same number. It would just be 3. I'm pretty sure you want to know. And yes, you want to 3 because the bottom number here. Then and it's okay, the bottom
Okay. Alright, let's go ahead. Start. Let's go ahead and go over. Oh wait. We are going to go over B together, and then we are also going to talk about C, because C is yet another bit of fun. Alright, so with B, and I apologize because I did some of this with a couple of you guys on my paper, but make sure that you're understanding, bless you, that you are breaking this down into 3. The ones on this side were broken down into 1 whole. So now you're breaking it down into 3 wholes. Alright, so that's the first thing you have to understand. The second thing is we're trying to find out how many 2/3 are in 3 wholes. Alright, and if you color code, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1/3 left over. Okay, so then if that's the case, I have 4 whole 2/3, and how many left over?
1/3.
Just 1/3. 1/3 left over. Okay, so that's the answer for that one. Yes.
Wouldn't that be more than 1/2 because 1/3 is half of 2/3?
Oh yes, I did it again. I'm sorry. Sorry. You're right. My fault. That's why I keep you guys around. All right. So now, looking at C. What is different yet again about C? It says how many 3/2 are in 5. So there's quite a few things that are different. What's one thing that should stand out to you? Don't tell me, Hunter.
It's 3/2.
3/2. So right there, your thought process should be, my whole is going to be made up of how many? Halves, which is how many in 1 whole? 2. So your whole is going to be made up by 2 blocks. All right. What else is different yet again? Michaela.
You have to make it into a mixed number.
So you have to make it into not a mixed number, but an improper.
Oh, yeah.
Improper, right? All right. So really, and we'll get to that once we do a little bit of visual. How many 3/2 are we trying to find in what total number of holes? 5. All right, so I'm going to start. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Technically, that's how many halves are in 5 holes. Does that make sense to everybody? Who is confused? Okay, so half plus half equals what?
1.
Not anybody else. Equals what? Equals, well, technically equals 2, which is 1 whole. So each one of these is 1. And we have to break it up to get 5 because we're dividing this by 5, correct? So 5 holes, we're trying to figure out how many 3/2 are in those 5 holes. All right, now, Michaela pointed out that it's an improper fraction. So we're not just doing 2, we're doing how many? You're doing 1 and 1/2. So 1 and 1/2 would be 1, 2, 3. And then I would do 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And I'm left over with what?
1.
1. All right, so down here, this is 1 3/2, correct? This one is 1 3/2, and this one is 1 3/2. So the total 3/2 that I have in 5 is how many total 3/2? I'm sorry. Yeah, no. Yes. How many? How many sets of 3 halves did we just color in, guys?
3.
3. 3. So 3 is my whole number, and then you have 1 left over. So what is it? Is it half? Is it 1/3? Is it 1/4? What is it? Michaela?
2/5.
2/5. Why do you say that?
Because it's, okay, so a whole, and then there's half of a whole, or half of that. So the half, you have to split all these, like, you have to split the, I don't know how to word this.
It's not 2/5.
You have to,
It's not 2/5. Think about how many are in our wholes. How many? So we have 1, 2, 3, right? We have 1 of the 3 left over. So it's not half, it's 1/3. Yeah, you were getting a little wild over there, Michaela. All right. I know that this is something, I don't know if you guys have ever seen tape diagrams before.
I love it.
All right, hold on. So I'm going to come over here. Everyone listen. Be really quiet so you can hear me. Not much right. Shh.
oh yeah.
What did you say? I couldn't hear you.
All right. Let's go ahead and finish this up so you guys have time to do your cool down. I'll tell you in a minute. I'll tell you in a minute. All right, so what is a division problem for this top one? What's a division problem for B? What's a division problem? Christian, what is a division problem for B then? Michaela?
3 divided by 2/3 equals 4 and 1.
Equals a question mark. Technically, we don't know. Okay? What is a multiplication problem then for B? Mason?
3 over 1.
For B?
Oh.
It's just reverse, guys. It's just reverse. That's all. All right, so this bottom one down here. Cora, you want to give it a try?
Yeah. 5 divided by
Okay, so 5 divided by 3 halves equals question mark. So then what would our multiplication problem look like? Gabriel?
5 times 2/3 equals 10 over 3.
No, I don't want an answer. I don't want an answer. Jackson?
Question mark 5.
Yes. All right, go ahead. You need to glue this in your notebook. On this page that we started, you can trim it up a little bit to make sure you can fit it in, and then you are getting a cool down. Ladies and gentlemen, listen, you are allowed to use your notes from the lesson today to help you with your cool downs. Okay? So if you need to, definitely use them. Also, make sure you answer everything with, bless you, your cool down. Y'all are not listening because you're too busy talking. Please put your first name, last name, date, period. Please do not write in cursive. When you are done with it, you need to come see me and get your homework. Yes, you do have homework today. You will be fine, I promise. Guys, the summary side needs to be what's glued down to your page so you can see your examples. The summary side where it says summary. So, no. Listen, so like you're folding it in half, and you're putting glue on 6.3, and you're gluing upside down. We should not be talking. Were you what? They're graded. I haven't put them into my grade book yet, so you will get them tomorrow. Oh, I totally forgot this.